Imagine unlocking the secrets of musical alchemy, where your melodies transform into evocative tapestries of sound. This is our Wherever I May Roam mode. Welcome to the Dark Art of Harmonization. Here we delve into the mysterious realm where chords become the shadows behind a melody, breathing life, depth, and emotion into each note. With this newfound power, Black Sabbath's Iron Man becomes a medieval jig. Or Metallica's Wherever I May Roam transforms into Wherever I May Stay. This is Shred, and today we're going to unravel a mystery that eludes most guitar players. I'm talking about how to put chords behind a melody. Using examples from Metallica and Black Sabbath, we'll discover how simple chords can evoke profound emotions. Get my scale Bible for free in the description below. Turn those scales into heavy riffs with my brand new Riff Lord Challenge course. A simple 3-step formula frees you from the pentatonic trap, making it easy to write your best songs. Good news, it just costs your soul. Here we are in Guitar Pro, the magical parallel universe where we can transcribe things and look at musical structure, decipher the secrets behind it. And what I'm going to do first is tab out Iron Man, right? So let's do that. It begins on this B power chord. Then you go up to the D. Give me the D, son. And then we're going to move, actually we're going to repeat that, but now we're going to make it an 8th note. And we're going to head up to this E5. And I'm going to hit that one more time and see if we got the bar right. Cool. Now we're going to head up to the fast lick part, and I'm going to change over to 16th notes for this. And it goes back and forth between the 10th and the 9th frets on the... This would be the minor 3rd and the 2nd in the key. So we're going to play that a few times. And then we're going to go back to this sequence right here. And maybe I'll just even copy and paste that over. Let's see if we got it. Almost got it. That's got to be a D power chord. And actually one more E. Yeah, but that's too many. We'll figure it out here. Let's see. That's an 8th note. Got it. Okay. Now we got the bar. Now, what's crazy is we can change this effect by altering the chords below the melody. And what we're going to do first is separate out that melody. So I'm going to take it up an octave. All he's singing is this lower line. So let's get that going up here. We got B, D, and then up to the E. Cool. And then we've got that faster lick, so we're going to change to 16th notes. Oh, the 32nd fret. Man, I don't know about you, but I don't have a 32nd fret. Okay, cool. Now we're back down. Okay, so here's our melody. Let's listen to that. Now it's up there, it's really clear, and I want to show you how altering the harmony can have a profound effect. So this is insane. Here we go. Let's do like a kind of Iron Maiden reharmonization. Listen to this. Now that's pretty cool. And what I'm actually doing is, if you look at the chords here, let me shift my voice over here. We've got an E minor and E5 essentially happening there instead of the B, right? In the first version, or the original, we had that B. Now, in the second chord, I've got a D. Give me the D, son. And that already is changing the sound. And I'm thinking of an Aeolian primary chord progression, which You know, Iron Maiden uses this all the time, right? It's like E minor, C, and D. Here's the C word, and that's a beautiful Lydian sound right there. Because in the key of E minor, the fourth mode is Lydian, and it has this kind of magical wonderment to it with those C and D chords, and you really get that sound with the raised fourth in there as well, F sharp. Okay, and then we're up to D, and then back to the E minor. Okay, so I changed the chords underneath, kept the melody the same, and got a completely different effect. What I'm about to do next is crazy. We're going to shift this into like a medieval minstrel almost kind of sound. And in order to do that, we're going to use the Dorian mode. So I promise I didn't change the melody here. Listen to this. Right? You can still hear the same melody, but what I did this time was change the chords to Dorian. Now the chords for Dorian are basically A minor and D, and I'm using kind of a bit of a fancy voicing there. If we just want to go straight up A minor and D, that's fine too, but these are just a little bit more interesting. Now, that's essentially what I'm doing here. So this first chord is in A minor, and it's technically an A minor 9, right? Because I've got this B note in there. And then the second chord is a D. And this particular D is a little bit more fancy. It's voiced like this. So I've got the sus4 and the ninth in there, but still at its core, it's that D sound. And that's the important thing. So then we go back to an A minor here, and there's another D over here. And that is essentially the whole thrust of this lesson, is being able to change the mood or vibe of a song by altering the chords underneath the same melody. Now for our next experiment in the musical lab, we'll be taking Metallica's Wherever I May Roam and changing it into Wherever I May Stay. Check it out. Here's the original. Okay, so Wherever I May Roam, the main theme is in the E Phrygian mode. Sounds like that. It's got a very wicked vibe to it. It's very dark. And here's the tab. So we've got the pedal tone and the root pitch E here. And then we have this really cool theme going on. And you can see right here that flat second degree is a defining tendency tone in the Phrygian mode. Also, this one, G, really signifies the minor tonality. Now, check this out. Let's turn this into Wherever I May Stay. And actually, I forgot to put that in the notes. This is Wherever I May Stay. And the way that we're going to do this is by altering Phrygian and turning it into Ionian. And that all happens with the chords. So have a listen to this. This is nuts. Now, I don't think Metallica would be proud of me. This is pure sacrilege. But it does demonstrate this incredibly powerful principle of changing the chords underneath. So you can see I totally changed things up here. I have, let me switch back to clean here. I've got C major, and then another C. This is like a Rolling Stones move almost, you know, from C to F. And then anything else, that's pretty much the drill here. So I'm bringing out the primary chords in C Ionian, C, F, and G. So here we've got the C, and that's C over G technically, which is fine. This is also a C. Here we've got the F chord or the 4 at play. So let's just dial that in. Back to a C here, and I'm going to explain in a minute, by the way, how I come up with these chords beneath the melody notes, right? Because you can't just put any chord and hope it's going to work. So back to another C over G, and this is just the same kind of drill. Okay, cool. Hopefully that makes some sense. Now let's really deconstruct how to do this for yourself. Now in this segment, I'm going to decode the secret alchemy of harmonization. We're going to unpack this little known secret here that most guitar players never really figure out. Master this dark art and your songs go from here to here overnight. Now check this out. Here's how it works. How do you harmonize a melody? And you have basically three different options. First, when you have a melody note, let's take E, for example, everybody's favorite note on guitar. It can either be the first of the chord or the root. It can be the third of the chord or the fifth. So if we head on over here to the next bar, let's say this is going to be the first of the chord. So let me just type in here, this is going to be the root. And if E is the root, that means it's going to be an E minor chord. So in other words, you're thinking, what triad begins with an E? And so if you start on E and you skip every other note, you get an E minor. It also could be an E major if you wanted, but we'll stick with minor because that's cooler. So the way that you build a chord basically from a scale, right, is you play every other note. So in E minor, you got your root, skip the second, go to the third, skip the fourth, go to the fifth. So that's going to give us an E minor chord. And I'm just going to put in this common shape that everyone knows there. Okay, so that's your first option. Now, option 2 is going to be the third of the chord. So let's say we're still back on E here, and that's going to be the third. Well, to figure out what the chord's going to be, then you go down a third from E. So if we're on E, D, C, there you go. That's 3 notes. So that means C major is going to be our chord there. So let's type that in. And you can hear how, you know, it works, right? The E minor with the E works. The C with the E on top works as well. So it's fascinating. So here we go. This is the third, and this chord's going to be C major. Now we got one more option, which is the fifth of the chord. So if E is the fifth, then essentially what we have to do is go down a fifth from E. So if you're on E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going down within the E minor scale here. So that means A is our down a fifth note, which means A minor could be the chord behind that. And again, that could be an A major too, depending on what effect you want. But since we are into metal here, we tend to like the minor chord. So this is going to be the fifth, and that's going to be an A minor. And that, my friends, is the dark... Oh, yeah, there we go. Get out of me, demon spirits. That is the dark art of harmonization. In the next segment, we're going to use the greatest melody in the world, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, to demonstrate how you can reharmonize a melody. So when we get into the musical lab, one of my favorite test subjects to experiment with is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And it's such a simple melody. It's slow and it has a nice melodic contour or shape. You can really test out just about any compositional concept. So let's say we're in the key of E and we want to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, right? So let's get that in here. Then it starts on E, goes up to the fifth, then goes to the major sixth, back down to the fifth, and then we're going to hit the fourth degree of the scale here, A. Then we're down to the third, the second, and finish off on the root. So when you're reharmonizing the melody, you're basically thinking to yourself, okay, that's an E. Like we said, you know, that could be the A minor, the C, or the E minor, or those could be major chords too. B, same process, right? B could be either the root, the third, or the fifth. And each melody note you could put a different chord behind with that secret formula. Now, I want to give you an example of just how crazy this can get, right? First of all, let's hear Twinkle Twinkle in the standard Ionian or major scale harmonization, where we're using the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and also the 5 chord. Let's hear how that sounds. It's beautiful, glorious, delicious. Now, that's all well and good, but it's boring AF, right? So what if we want to twist into the dark side and go for a more wild harmonic journey? Well, a great way to do that is to try the Phrygian mode. Now, the Phrygian mode, relative to E major, would be G sharp Phrygian. And the 2 chords that you're going to be dealing with to get a Phrygian sound is going to be the 1, which is G sharp minor, and then the flat 2, keeping that root always in the bass. And that is that Metallica sound from Wherever I May Roam. Very dark and brooding. Now, I promise I didn't change the melody here. It's exactly the same, but listen to the drastic difference. Wow. Now, that's actually something I would listen to. I mean, it's your opportunity to make a statement and be unique. And you can do this with any song, you know. Take something that people already know, a contextual reference point to grab their ear, and then change it, mix it up, turn it on its head, and create something new with this technique. Now, our next test subject is going to be AC/DC's Thunderstruck. It's one of the greatest rock songs of all time. 1.5 billion views, 1.5 billion views. That's extremely rare for a rock song. Let's check it out. What I want to demonstrate in this section is how you can alter the mood of a lick, something like Thunderstruck, by changing the chords underneath. Now, here is the Thunderstruck lick. And all you really have to do is play some power chords to mix things up. Okay, good. Now listen to this. That's standard. But if we go to the root, let's say, which would be E, because B mixolydian is the 5th in the key, so if we go down to the root, let's hear how that sounds. Actually pretty cool, but a totally different vibe. What about the Dorian? So Dorian begins on degree number 2, right? Check it out. Wow, dude, very cool. Almost died there. All right, now let's say Phrygian, right? You just keep going up the E major scale with power chords. Okay, one more. Let's say Lydian. That starts on the 4th degree. Ooh. Each one has a little bit different emotion behind it. And we're about to jump into my DAW Logic Pro, which is where we record music. And what I'm about to show you is a total game changer. This is an exercise you can use to experiment with modes and changing the chords underneath the melody. We're going to use a very simple melody called Carol of the Bells. It's a Christmas song, so hopefully you're watching this during Christmas. But if not, you're just going to have to power through. So the Carol of the Bells melody, we'll do it in E minor here. And it begins with our quarter note on the 3rd degree of the scale. We're going to switch over to 8th notes. That does the 2nd degree, back up to the 3rd, and back to the root. So we're in a 3/4 time signature. So here we are in Logic, and what I've done is looped that melody. And I'm just going to let that play so we can experiment with some chords here. Let's say we want this to be Ionian. At the bare minimum, you would just play that G major. You could also do the 4 chord and the 5, but always with that G in the root. Now things are about to change. Let's go Dorian. So this is going to be A minor and D essentially. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but here already, how the mood is totally different now. So cool. Next is Phrygian. This is our Wherever I May Roam mode. And of course that melody isn't changing, right? I'm just creating all of this energy by altering the harmony underneath. B minor and C chords. Okay, next is C Lydian. So here's that sound. Let's go for the D. Again, it's very important that you keep the root always in the bass for these voicings. Just hear how Christmassy that sounds. Let's see, what's next? D Mixolydian. That's going to be D and C. Really cool, right? Okay, after that you'd have Aeolian, which is E minor. Whoops, and then you have D. Back to the E minor. And the last one would just be your Locrian or your F sharp diminished. And that totally makes the melody sound wicked as fuck. If you're in my modern guitar mastery class, your homework is going to be to write 30 seconds of music, and what we're going to do is take one melody, but I want you to reharmonize it. So let's say choose one mode from the major group, that could be Ionian, Mixolydian, or Lydian, and then choose one mode from the minor group. That's going to be either Aeolian, Locrian, Phrygian, or Dorian. So first, state your melody. Could be in the major key first, and then I want you to state that exact same melody, but with the different chords behind it to demonstrate this principle of reharmonization that's so powerful. It can completely change the emotion and the mood. And think about it as like a film, you know, where you have good versus evil. And let's say, you know, the good character is represented by the Ionian mode, and the bad character or the evil character is represented by something like the Phrygian mode. Full tabs, guitar profile, and MIDI data will be below. Until next time, play evil chords.